Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over Heroic Maloriak from the tank POV. Starting off the fight, he won't have any cauldron colors yet, but as the fight goes on, he's going to go through different cauldron color phases. At this point, he's neutral. You can see in 5 seconds, he's going to switch. On Heroic, he's got the Dark Cauldron first, and that one's pretty important as the tank, so we'll see that here. Basically, he's going to summon some ads, so even if you're an off tank, this is a pretty important phase. He's going to summon some ads that you'll just kind of kite around, and they drop these puddles on the ground, so you just need to make sure you're not standing in these. And as the main tank, this engulfing darkness is the main thing you're going to be dealing with. So this is a frontal that does a decent amount of damage, and it makes you unhealable for the duration. So basically you want a cooldown for each one of these. He's going to cast that for 8 seconds, and then there's going to be a period where you can be healed. And you just keep repeating that over and over again for, I think, about a minute and a half. So it's fairly long. And then occasionally some of the random like ground effect ooze will be on the ground. So really make sure you get out of that, because if you're standing in that and you're unhealable and you're already taking this frontal damage, you'll die very quickly. But just rotate your cooldowns on here. As a DK, you basically just need one thing for each one. So AMS is great. If you pop AMS, you will get rid of the debuff too for the duration of AMS, so you will be healable during that time too. So it's a good idea to just like let him do a little bit of damage, then pop AMS. That way you can heal up and you can basically end the breath at full HP. But just cycle through everything, like just like one cooldown at a time. So, you know, Bone Shield for one, Mirror Broken Images for one, AMS for one, etc. For red phase, we're going to have the whole group stack up. So generally you'll have like a marker for that. And the whole group's going to stack up because he's going to do a frontal breath that does damage split amongst everybody hit. So we want to make sure that hits everybody. And ideally, it's not facing toward the ad tank. So what I'm also doing here is I'm interrupting the Arcane Storm. So for that, there's a cast time. And then after the cast time is a channel. You want to just make sure an interrupt goes out before any damage happens from that, because it will do quite a bit of damage to the whole raid. So for blue phase, this is a spread out phase, so melee are going to try to spread as much as they can. This release aberration, this summons 3 ads, and they give a stacking damage taken decrease and damage done increase buff to both Maloriak and any other ads nearby. So these are going to be just kited around in frost traps by an off tank. And what we opted to do is we actually 3-tanked this fight, because at the end of the fight, when Maloriak enters his final phase, he'll release any ads that weren't already killed. During green phase here, the buff they get is suppressed, so they'll take full damage here. Normally they would take really reduced damage, but they take increased damage and they lose their buff there. So we've now entered the final phase here, and when that happens, any aberrations that weren't already released will be released now. There's 18 total aberrations, so typically in a 2-tank strat, what you would do is you would release 9 each go. So basically, the cauldrons are going to cycle through their colors again, if you let them. And with a 2-tank strat, you would want 2 green phases to AoE down all the ads before you push into the final phase. But it takes a long time, because the green phase is going to be the final phase in the cycle. So that takes a long time to get back to green phase. like several minutes. So to avoid having to go through all of that again, we just 3 tanked the fight. So in this final phase, in addition to any previously unreleased aberrations, there's also going to be 2 new ads. I think they're called prime subjects, but one tank will take those, and then the other tank will take the newly released aberrations, and they'll kite those away from one another. And Maloriak will just again be tanked away from the ads. But by 3 tanking this fight, you can just avoid having to go through the entire cycle again, which just takes forever. So I really recommend this. This is a pretty safe way to do the fight quickly. Also, I should note that the release aberration cast is interruptible. So you can control how many get released or don't get released. In our case, we didn't want to interrupt any of them because we wanted to get rid of as many of them as we could during the green phase so we don't have to deal with them in this final phase. So as the main tank here, the main mechanic you're looking for is magma jets. So it's going to be cast very frequently, and it's a frontal that will do damage and knock up anybody in front. I really like this spot here because you can make him just like cast it into a wall, and it takes up very little floor space. And every about third cast, you can just double back. It might be every fourth. It's every third or fourth. You can like double back, and the old fire will like despawn. So you can just, I really like this area instead of the other side. The other side has like some weird like sciencey equipment over there that like gets in your way and like blocks your path. But this is like a really open little corner here. So I really like this because you can keep them like pretty much still. The ads were being tanked pretty close to there, so I had to keep them a little bit away from it. But ideally, like tank the ads basically on the opposite wall. Kite them over there so that you can use like this corner here to kite the Maloriak magma jets, because you can kind of just go like back and forth through here the entire time, and that way like the boss doesn't move a ton. Like he's basically just relegated to this like small area, so like range don't have to like move around too much because they are going to be like spread out in this phase. So there can be some range issues if you're like really like kiting him like around the whole room. So I really prefer just this spot here. And as you could see too, the jets, like when you drop them next to the wall, is just like they take up almost no space too. So when you are doubling back though too, make sure you're very quick about doing it so that you don't send a magma jet into the raid. The move needs to be basically immediate because the cooldown on it's very short. He kind of just spam casts those, but that's all you're doing the entire final phase is you're just constantly sidestepping those magma jets. And if you can, I love this spot here. So ideally, all the ads would be tanked kind of over here as far away as possible. In that final phase, it's very important to keep Maloriak away from ads. Sometimes the fight will break down a little bit and aberrations might get loose. Your job as the main tank at all times, like normally your instinct might be to pick up those ads that are like loose if one of the other tanks dies. In this case, you absolutely do not want to pick up those ads, because if you pick them up and they get next to Maloriak, they're going to buff him. They're going to make him take reduced damage and make him do increased damage. So you can basically just wipe right there if you pick up those ads. So really key to keep Maloriak away from ads at all times. That's the entire fight right there. I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.